Oh, we are live. Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
Welcome to Hunter's Hangout, behind the scenes edition. This is what takes place behind the scenes of your average Hunter's Hangout episode.
You could do a blooper thing at the end when all this is done, and then take clips from all these befores and put it together as a blooper show.
Hector Turner is currently lighting his background, and he doesn't know that we're live yet. And he thinks we're still off air. So we're going to just enjoy watching Hector set up for a bit.
Well, as you know, it don't start till 9, so we figured we let you see what happens behind the scenes.
That's right. So, does anybody have any comments on Hector's background setup so far?
I like the carpet.
Yeah, that's nice. He's unfortunately we didn't go live just in time for him to kind of drop it and make a big crash, which was pretty funny.
We missed that.
So I guess this is really not that much to say about him setting up the background.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
Does Hector not know?
No, he doesn't know.
No, just kind of like.
So let's take bets on like what color light he's about to turn on. I'm going yellow or like that.
I'm going green, blue.
I was gonna say blue too.
Green.
Red.
Oh, it's blue.
Woohoo!
You guys seen it before, ain't fair.
Cheers.
Oh shit, there we go.
Got some mood lighting in there now. Hector's thinking about settling to position. Let's hope he doesn't have a multi-light setup.
Somebody cue the music.
There he is.
Oh no, not yet.
Oh, here it is because he doesn't have his earphones on. When he puts, he just settling in.
Wow. Hector, you're on!
Goodbye. Don't pick your nose.
Oh,
looking good, Hector.
He's gonna readjust. He's readjusting. He's not liking how it looks.
Oh wow!
He's like, I got 3 minutes. Those
Yep.
bastards will never go live without me. I got a few more tombstones in the basement. Oh, there we go.
You're rumbling through the fridge for a drink.
This set is so worth it, though. Look how nice that looks.
He's gonna knock it all down.
There it goes.
Oh, okay.
It's tipping.
Oh no, Hector, don't let it happen.
Oh no.
He's doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
No, he ain't doing it on purpose. He doesn't know we're live.
No, but is he like trying to tilt it like that? Because it looks.
No, he's trying to put the other leg down.
Oh, okay. This is great analysis of Hector's setup here for Diablo. That's why we're the professionals, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, bring it back up.
I feel like I should message him at this point. This is the best and most informative episode. I'm gonna message him. See if he gets it.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, Hector.
They're saying best Hunter's Hangout ever.
Oh,
at this point, he doesn't care what time it is. He's just setting it up.
Behind the scenes.
Oh, man.
Way to go, Phil. Phil's
Welcome, everybody. There, you seeing the message.
Oh man, that's harsh.
He was about to start throwing everything.
Still hear you,
mute
Hector.
it.
He didn't tweet it.
He doesn't know that part. He's like, those fuckers, they went live.
Yeah.
Now you gotta mention him, tell him to mute.
Have we ever had a better start to an episode yet, ladies and gentlemen? Never. This is the way we're going to start every episode. I should call him. I'll be right back.
Dude, he's frustrated now. He's like slamming it. Like, damn it. Way to go, Phil.
What'd I do? I missed this.
Yeah,
I wasn't here either.
Yeah, you go, Hector.
Oh, I got voicemail.
You have 3 minutes.
Go get your stuff.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Hector, this is a voicemail letting you know that you're live on Hunter's Hangout. We're going now, buddy. I don't know how it happened. Someone accidentally hit the live switch. It was an accident. But come back on. Yeah, buddy. We miss you. Bye.
There he is. There he is.
Look at that. Yeah.
Hector! How's it going, buddy?
Oh, sure. 15 minutes. Bring up the backdrop. Why not?
Yes.
You got lots of time, they say.
Yeah.
Hector, once we get going to the show, some people probably will have some questions about how you set that up.
You mean you didn't record it?
We're alive, Hector.
I'm going to record it for the blooper reel.
We've been live for about 10 minutes, Hector. While you're setting that up, I'll tell you that.
Our first question of the night is for Hector. How long does it typically take to set up your backdrop?
Well, let's see. I was set up 2 days ago in the basement, and then 15 minutes to go. Had to move upstairs. Let's bring it all back up. Sure, why not?
Way to go, Phil.
Sorry, Hector. I didn't hit the live button. You can blame Jose for that one.
Oh
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, make the guy with arthritis and bum knees run up and down stairs 20 times. Sure.
Oh, I can see your daughter sneaking in behind there, Hector. I think she's sneaking in the background there.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to another exciting episode. Thank you, Hector, of Hunter's Hangout. Season 6, episode 2. And we're going to just get started since we took up so much of your valuable time. And we're going to go to the prizes. And Jamie's going to let us know and what we're going to win today.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get all set up. We're doing something new tonight. Okay.
So screw up.
All right, so our prizes for tonight, the first one is this lovely mask from Face Factory FX.
All right, fake applause, fake applause.
Then we have a $25 gift card from Fright Props. Then from Sinful Audio, we have one free SFX library. Download.
All right.
From Horrornament, we have a coffin ornament.
I've never heard a more deliberate pronunciation of something in my life.
Then we have a gallon of fog from Froggy's Fog.
Yeah.
From Hot Labs, we have a blue lit Hunter's Desk sign, and it will feature the winner's state.
Excellent. No problem.
And then again tonight, everybody who's watching can go to Sam Hain's website, and you can get 50% off if you use the code Haunters, all capital letters.
Hunter.
Sweet.
Then someone tonight is going to win a realistic looking skull from Nightmare Makers.
Excellent.
Then Hollywood FX Hybrid Alcohol Airbrush Makeup in red and black from I Love FX Makeup. Then you get 1 pair of contact lens from Exotic Lenses.
That's a lot of prizes.
That's a lot of prizes. And then you get one lucky person will get their choice of one of 4 knives from Hardcore Fabrications.
All right.
Cool.
And then last but not least, after you're done watching all of these awesome pictures that we're going to show you tonight, go to our website, hauntershangout.org, and check out our thousands of tutorials on all things Halloween to make.
Woohoo!
All right. Very professional, Jamie. Not a mention of prostitutes anywhere. I appreciate it. Good work.
I try.
All right, well, we're going to turn it over Brad to do the haunters since he's one of the Canadians in this Canadian group.
Yes, this is an episode very near and dear to my heart. We got lots of amazing haunters on with us tonight. So we'll go from left to right on my screen. First, we have Chris Arnott from Dunnett's Dark Lair. Chris, say hello.
Hello.
And then we have Christine Campbell, right? From, what's your name of your haunt, Christine, again? Sorry?
Haunted Calgary.
Haunted Calgary. Hello, everyone. And then you've all met Hector Turner. From Blackstone Cemetery, the one and only Hector Turner.
I love that backdrop. That's amazing.
Tell us more about it. And then finally we have Jason, and is it Chrissy Oliver? Jason and Chrissy?
You betcha.
Oliver from the Haunted Waste Yard, right?
Wastelands.
Wastelands. Ah. I realized about 2 seconds before I went through all the names that I was supposed to do a little bit of before I started tonight. But welcome everybody to the show, and of course to Diablo and to Jamie and to Phil. It's going to be a great episode, and we're going to talk about haunts north of the border and all the unique challenges we have. So, Chris, why don't you start off giving us a short sort of description of you and your haunt and why you like Halloween?
All right. So my name's Chris Arnott. I'm from Barrie, Ontario, which is about an hour north of Toronto. And I've been home haunting here for, I'm going to say, probably close to a little over a decade. But with my haunt officially is Dunnett's Dark Lair, it's been 9 years. Next year is going to be 10. As most people do, I usually started out doing it as just a couple little tombstones in the front yard. And now it's grown into a full cemetery in the front lawn and a garage full of haunted stuff. So,
right.
And next year, plan to grow even bigger again.
Excellent. Good work. And Christine, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Great. Well, I'm the creative director of Haunted Calgary. We are a walk-through haunted yard attraction in Calgary, Alberta, on the not quite the far west of the country, but getting second province in. We have a fairly large yard haunt, usually runs between 8,000 and 10,000 square feet, give or take, all outdoors in the cold Calgary snow often. And we, I guess our claim to fame is usually our actors. We have about 50 actors usually on any given night. We're open for 3 days in October, and they really make it or break it. And we raise food for the food bank and money for an animal rescue group.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, we've often when we're on here, I've said it many times, but we Canadians are kind of lumped in together of having to deal with the weather. But we have Albertans on here with us tonight. They really have to deal with the weather. So we'll hear about their challenges too. Hector Turner, tell us a little bit about yourself and your sign.
Yeah, well, I've been doing Blackstone Cemetery now. This will be my 14th year. So, like everybody, started off, really small, really modest, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger, and more work to put up and take down. The usual. But yeah, it's gotten really popular, and I get more and more kids out, and last year I had probably about over 500 kids and over 1,000 adults, which for me was just like, 2 to 3 times my usual numbers. So
that's impressive.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Growing bigger and better every year.
Awesome. All right, great to have you on. And Jason and Chrissy, give us your story.
All right, we're the Haunted Wastelands. This is going to be our 19th year. We're also from Calgary, Alberta, but we're on this other end of the city, the south end of the city. Like Christine says, lots of snow. And I don't know, again, we started off small, and then thinking about 6 years ago, we went from a display to a walkthrough, and we just keep trying to grow each year. And just a couple of years ago, we started changing our themes to one theme, and we do it for 2 years and then switch it up again. So we're going to be switching it up this coming year. Not exactly sure what we're doing yet, but we're switching it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. So I guess we'll go back to the beginning here with Chris. And Chris, I know you and I have probably something in common that I don't know if you'd say this about yourself, but one of the ways that I went from being sort of just, like doing my own little haunt to going kind of nuts with it was meeting Chris Ainsworth. Is that part of your story as well?
It is part of my story. When I first moved to Barrie, the house that we bought, good Lord, we bought, the neighbors next door did a little bit of Halloweening stuff, and that's what got me interested in it. And of all people, my mother-in-law was watching TV one day and saw a television show called Party Mamas. I keep bringing this up. He's going to hate me for bringing it up. Party Mamas. And he was featured. I know, he was featured on it. And she said, you have to watch this show. There's a guy that loves Halloween just as much as you, if not more. So I checked it out, and then checked out his website and bought a prop off of him. And we've been probably, best friends ever since. And I think the turning point for me was when he said, you should come with me to Transworld. And I came to Transworld, and I haven't looked back. It's just been ridiculous since then.
Have you been to Transworld every year since? Like, you go every year pretty much.
Since every year since. Yep, I'm going this year too. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about your haunt, sort of the progression of it over the years.
Yeah, so like I said, I originally started out just with the yard, and then I had a small little garage display, and then I did what most people do and went to a walkthrough. And this year I decided to switch it up a bit. Rather than do a complete walkthrough, I did kind of like a display haunt. Sort of, I kind of emulated it after Dave Dan Canyon, who does a kind of display in his garage, and that's what I did this year, and called it, Dead with Dave, and made it. Called it the Cabin of Terror this year, and it was really popular. We had about 500 people show up, and about 350 people actually go through for the show. So it's great.
So was there a limited number of people that could go in and see it at a time? Is that how that worked?
Well, I started kind of at about 6 or so, and then when the line started getting down the street, and I got kind of worried, and the typical Canadian weather. People were kind of not wanting to wait in line because it's too cold. So we started letting more and more people in. So at one point we had, I think, about 10 people in there, which was good. There was enough room. I had about a 20 by 6 foot area for people to stand.
Awesome. So what kind of stuff would go down when they go in and watch it?
So when they walk through the door would close, and we would have the actor out front would kind of give the indication whether we're doing a little scare, a big, medium-sized scare, or the big scare. And the routine would start up, and Uncle Ned would talk to them, which was it's a fright props skull that would tell them the backstory of the haunt, which was Mildred and Henry opening their cabin. They built the cabin, and in 1940, their 2 sons, Merle and Wilbur, went missing. And every year they open the cabin again to try and see whether their souls come back. And while he's telling this story, you start hearing ghost voices in the background. And he says, watch out, the spirits are coming. As soon as that happens, some of the props go off inside the garage. And at the end of the routine, the lights go completely out. And what I had done is when you'd walk through the door on your left and right, you would see But one of the black balls on the door side had a little actor panel. So as soon as people walked in, it was dimly lit. They didn't see anything beside them to the left or to the right. But as soon as the lights went out, the actor would step out from that back wall, and the lights came on, and they would be there. So
you got people good with that?
Oh, I got people huge with that. If you watch the video, there's a lot of good scares I got into that.
Yeah, Chris has got
sure.
And then at the end, videos up there. What's your YouTube handle?
And that, I think. Oh my God, I think it's Chris Arnott.
Just Chris Arnott.
Yeah.
Chris, now in the picture we have up here, I see the houses in the background. Obviously, your neighbors look pretty damn close to you. Do they ever complain about anything in regards to the season?
Nope. The neighbor to the right of the photo was the original neighbor that kind of inspired me to do, to go bigger. They've moved out. A couple families have interchanged. They're pretty good with it. They went through the haunt. They just kind of look at it and don't say much. The people beside us on the left-hand side, they every year since I built it, they've basically closed up shop, shut off the lights, and they're nowhere to be found for the 2 days leading up to Halloween. Yeah.
Now, do you think that's because they're not happy with it, or they just don't like Halloween in general?
Well, I don't know if they don't like Halloween in general, or I don't know whether it's that, or they're kind of religious. I don't know whether they follow Halloween, but yeah.
So this guy in the main picture here, did you make him, or did you get him?
No, I got him from Unit 70 and picked him up at MHC this year.
Oh, nice.
A lot of money for him, but I wanted something to be the main kind of attraction for there to kind of wow people, and I thought it paid off. The eyes alone are haunting.
Yeah, those eyes are creepy.
That room looks great.
Freaks people out.
Bob Boy wants to know, how long does it take to go through your haunt?
As soon as they walk into the front entrance through the facade, that little routine that went through was probably close to 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. They would stand and watch this whole display happen behind a fence, and then as soon as it was done, they would exit out the side.
Wow,
that's great.
I see a lot of cobwebbing. How long did that take?
that took a couple hours.
Yeah.
A couple hours of cobwebbing.
Is that with the glue gun and the compressor? Or?
That's with the glue gun and the compressor. Yeah.
Yeah. That looks wonderful.
Nice. I like the skis in the background, by the way.
All the furniture that's in there, it's funny enough that Brad's being the commentator for this, because Brad actually inspired me in a lot of stuff. If you see that kind of open wall area over the right shoulder of that guy and below it, I used your trick with the what's that putty stuff that you put on there to fill in wood filler.
Right. I can't remember. It's been.
I saw that one of your videos and used that. You can't remember. and garage sales for me for probably most of the summer. My wife and kids hate me because I go out garage sailing. What 40-year-old guy goes out? But I go out and all the furniture in there is from garage sales.
That's sweet. So, okay, well, we're going to move on to Christine, and we're going to come back to you for a bit. Sure. Christine, you've been on the show before. One thing I seem to remember is that you get a lot of people come out and see your haunt, right?
We do. Usually, I'd say about 5,000 is pretty
wow,
somewhat standard for us.
That's crazy.
Over 3 days, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I don't see any snow in this picture. I don't believe you that you get a lot of snow up there.
So last year actually was an amazing weather year. So
somebody's telling some little tales.
I think she's a dedicated hunter, and she went and painted all the snow brown just to look.
Yeah, so Halloween itself is usually it's hit or miss. Sometimes we have snow, sometimes we don't. When it really likes to snow is like right as we're wrapping up and have to pull everything in and put it away, and then you're dealing with wet props and mold and
yeah. Lots of fun. So that first image that we're seeing there, is that the facade to the whole experience? Is that the first thing you see?
Yeah, that was our front facade this year. It houses our ticket booth, and that's where they take a donation for the animal rescue or the food bank. and do a little bit of crowd control, that kind of thing. And I had my hearse sitting outside as well. She's named Slab Cab.
Several people are asking, how do you market your haunt?
You know, we have absolutely zero budget for our haunts. So our marketing is mostly word of mouth. This year we did a lot of Facebook, so much so that I got banned from Facebook groups, and that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, sorry about that, Christine. We'll let you back in.
Yeah, they're really cracking down. So if you're planning on doing Facebook advertising, it would pay off to recruit a bunch of people to help with that. But the other thing we really got into this year was Instagram, and I've never done Instagram before, so I can't say how effectively I was doing it, but it did seem to really help. We got a lot of interest and following and comments that way. So, but yeah, all free advertising. Oh, and we do put out signage for the couple days leading up to the haunt, somewhat illegally on the side of the road, on major thoroughfares.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, we're gonna skip along now to Hector. We're gonna come back to you, Christine.
Yeah.
Hector, my friend.
Yes, sir.
What was your? We all, those of us who know you on the internets, know of all the wonderful things you do. What was your big project for this year?
Well, the big project for this year was really just getting the haunt up. I came down with some severe arthritis in my knees, which has really hindered my mobility. So I was, you know, the haunt is always a lot of work, and it stretches over anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. But getting everything up out of the basement and just setting it up was going to be a real issue. So I put out the call on the Canadian Haunters Association and had a great group of people come out, Chris Ainsworth and a bunch of other guys, and they came out, and literally in one afternoon, we got all the totes out of the basement and all the tombstones set up in the cemetery. The cemetery fence was up. It really helped a lot. So that was, took a huge weight off my shoulders, because then I could sort of concentrate on the details without, killing myself in the process. As far as props go,
I remember I saw that
big one.
That call go out on Facebook that day, and I thought, man, I really hope all the rest of the Canadian Hunters go help him.
Yeah, no, everybody came through, and it was really good.
I couldn't. I was working on my own thing, but anyways, I'm glad they all set you up. It's a good bunch of guys.
Yeah,
Jennifer Smith wants to know. I'm sorry. Jennifer Smith wants to know, how long does it take you to pack everything up?
I still am doing so. Yeah, I still have stuff in the basement, stuff in the garage that might at some day get put away in storage, or it'll just go out in the yard next October.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Hector, all your lighting, what do you use? Do you use a lot of LEDs? Do you use a lot of just bulbs or anything to light up everything?
Over the past couple of years, I've been making the switch to LEDs, and I think this year I didn't use any incandescent floods. Everything was LED.
Wow.
And
I
it
love
was
the
all the
picture
low
right
voltage.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you still using the Gantums a lot, or have you moved on from those?
I use some of the Gantums, and then I've also I've got some from that I won, on Facebook from Halloween Effects. So I've got some ghost lights. I've got some nano spots from Fright Props. I use a mixture, whatever I can get. And I also use a lot of the fire and ice bulbs I like too.
Hey, that backdrop looks familiar. Look.
Hector, can you videotape you putting that up next year for Halloween, just so we can all be reminded of tonight?
It normally goes much smoother than it does tonight. Trust me.
Yeah, I remember talking to you earlier in the year last year, and you were seriously contemplating not putting up the haunt. So I'm glad you got it up, because
I did scale it back. I normally do a big cornstalk and scarecrow scene in the front of the yard. which is an additional scene, but it also acts as a really good view block from the street, so that, because I do have a fairly small yard, people don't quite realize until they see it in person how small it is. So by having the corn stalks sort of blocking the view, it makes everything seem that much bigger. So I did scale that back, and I didn't do any corn stalks, and I didn't set up the scarecrows. So I just sort of expanded the cemetery out to the sidewalk, which was different. I missed it, but you know, you do different things, and it worked out. And probably nobody other than me really noticed it was any different.
I love your cemetery fencing. Speaking of your cemetery, how did you make all that yourself?
Yeah, a lot of my stuff, it's a combination of homemade and store-bought, or if it is store-bought, then I've modified it. The cemetery fence was the typical 1x2 wood with the PVC piping, and then garden fencing from the dollar store.
Oh, nice.
And Hector, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there a pretty extensive tutorial on how you did that on your website?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a step-by-step how-to, but I go through all the process, and I've got photos of it in construction, and lay it out so that people can follow along.
So that's the part where you say which website.
So it's on the website. Yeah, so it's www.hectorturner.com/Halloween.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great website. I learned a lot of stuff from Hector's website, the little tutorials he had up there. That's when I first did my first tombstone, which is why one of my tombstones says Hector Turner on it. We're going to move on to Jason and Chrissy now, or did Chrissy leave? Or is she still
dealing with the kids, but...
okay.
Do you want to take this one?
There you go.
Oh, here she comes.
Oh, you should have put the camera. We could have watched her put the kids to bed. We have more reality TV on tonight's show. So, guys,
whatever you're talking about.
How'd your haunt season go this year?
Not too bad. I don't know. It took normal time. It takes about 5 to 6 months to start setting up.
Good God!
Yeah.
Wow. That's why we left a lot of it up this year. So the whole deck is up. 3/4 of the backyard is still up, so we have a head start for this year.
See, I've always wanted to do that just so I could go hang out in my haunt during the year. Just go out there.
Well, other years we couldn't do it because all the snow and all the people walking through it would kill our grass, turn to mud. But we used the artificial turf on our yard now on the front and the back, so now we can leave things up. We don't have to worry about the yard getting all muddy, dirty, and that type of thing. And so that's why we're keeping it up.
That's commitment.
And it's a cool playhouse for the kids in the winter. They go out there with all their friends. They have the padded room to play in. They're good to go.
Do you take the props out of it for the
kids,
or are they just strange people like yourselves and they don't mind it?
They love it. The kids absolutely love it. They go to school and they tell everybody. Like today we were driving and Hunter's looking at this car that was in front of us and he's like, "Mom, go offer to buy that car. It's yucky dirty. We need it for the haunt."
It looks like you take up like
three properties. Yeah, like 2 or 3 properties.
2 or 3 properties. Do you leave it up in theirs too, or they make you take that down?
No, we take down all the front just so that I don't know, they can have their yard back. But I don't know if the picture is. I'm just going to click on it here.
Yep.
All right, so the one where the asylum is, we use their yard. The other building is our driveway. So it's their yard with our yard and our driveway.
So you guys must be pretty cool neighbors then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My neighbors all hate me, so I don't have that.
All our neighbors. It's a neighborhood thing. Like when we're setting up and everything, everybody's always over, having drinks, painting, doing whatever we need to get it all done.
And even the house on the behind the chapel, we won't say that other holiday, but he's that major holiday person. He's the one that does all my lighting.
Awesome.
Darren Smith wants to know, how long do you guys stay open?
This year we were open 4 days.
Yeah, we opened 4 days. We took a day off and got to tour all the other haunts in the city, so it was nice. Usually it's between 5 or 6.
What's with the men's health and women's?
I was just gonna ask that.
It was a last minute thing. We were trying to
What's the scariest magazine you know?
Yeah, right there. I was trying to fill in that magazine rack, so I just asked everybody. I was like, "Do you guys have anything?" And then one of our neighbors says, "I got something." And then it wasn't even until after the haunt was over that I realized that they were even in there. Otherwise, I would have ripped some pages. I would have made it a mess. But yeah, it was after we were done. That's when I noticed that they were even there.
So are these drop panels here, or are they just these were actors were behind this?
Yeah, actors behind it. So that was reception. As soon as you walk in through that door there, they greeted you and told you a little spiel about what you were entering into, which was the asylum. And as they were distracting you over there, just in the left-hand corner of the picture, there was like an elevator scene, and we had somebody that was underneath the crashed elevator that would kind of reach out and grab at your foot.
So they worked together. They fed off each other to scare everybody.
Awesome.
That's incredible. That's great.
Hey, that's the part that's still set up on our deck.
So wait, this is your front deck, or your?
No, this is our back deck.
Our back deck.
Oh, okay.
Like the city don't come around, or what?
Oh, they come around lots.
So that door right there leads into our house, into our kitchen, and yeah, that's just the coming up the stairs to the one side of the deck. That's our deck. Right now, if you were to go out there with all the snow that we have, those white tarps are pretty well probably touching that door. That's right there with the hooks on it. They're so caved in right now.
Wow. Yeah, we've gotten some questions on how you go about weatherproofing. So is it just regular like tent tarps, or?
So this is a party tent tarp. We've had it for a few years. That's why we didn't really take it down, because I knew this was going to be the last year for that. If it caves in, rips, crashes, I don't care. I'm actually going to build something off of it and then put a real roof on the top so that I don't have to worry about it. But
all the other tarps are all fireproof and suck.
Yeah, they so the city needed us to get, in order to open, because of the previous year, we needed to get fire retardant tarps. So they're not like other tarps, they're more the canvas. So
everything leaks.
Yeah, it's fire retardant, but as soon as the snow gets out there, we were out there trying to hit it off. It wasn't sliding down properly because of the grip of the tarp. So if it was a regular tarp,
it would have slid right
off. It would have slid right off. So this year we're thinking we're gonna have the fire retardant tarps, and then we're gonna put the other tarps over top of them, so if the weather can just run off of it.
So I got a question for you. How did the city first get turned on to you guys? Did you just get too big, or did a neighbor rat you out, or what happened?
A neighbor last year ratted us out. They thought our tarps in the back, they didn't look safe or whatever. They didn't like the look of it. So we had the city come out. They were going to shut us down. We had the news, everything out, the whole neighborhood all rallied with us. So we got to stay open as long as we made the few changes for this year.
Yeah, it just takes a long jerk.
Yeah, but now, like the fire marshal, the city, they come around. They were around a couple times this year, making sure that we were good. Christine had them now at their haunt and everything, checking them out. So it's going to be a yearly.
So the bigger haunts in Calgary are now being approached, and yeah,
thanks
keep
to you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was complimenting you for being good, but obviously not totally.
Right. I was thinking about like a new set of haunt stuff that I hated, like neighborhood togetherness.
yeah.
But I don't have to worry about that now.
I'm with you about that on that one. Well, that's great.
The person that we think did it, he's super nice now and helps and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see.
Maybe he was just really concerned about safety, and
still
loves Halloween
we
somehow, as if those things can go together. All right, we're gonna go back to Chris now, and we're gonna look at some more of your pictures, Chris, because you got some good stuff to look at here. So
no pressure. No pressure.
Phil,
it's on you, Phil. It's on you.
I was about to say, so Phil, and then just everyone goes silent.
That's a scary mascot there, Chris.
Yeah.
This room is great.
So this is the room cabin that people saw when they walked through the door. The fireplace is actually looks like it's a running fireplace with fog and I guess a mini flicker light with 2 LED bulbs.
Is that a unit that you purchased?
One, the red one?
Is that a unit you purchased all as one, or did you get that together?
No, I put it together. Yeah. So the actual frame of the fireplace is another thing that I bought from a garage sale, and then I built the fireplace outlay with the brick with I think it was the prefab stuff from Lowe's, and then built the framework of it just using 2x3s and paint and distressed it and so on. So it turned out pretty good.
We've gotten a lot of questions about lighting. So do you have any suggestions for the best kind or what you suggest?
LED seems to be the best because it's the most compact and you can hide it the best. The only problem with some of the LED lighting is it's very, very dim. So I was kind of afraid in some spots that it would be too dim for people to see stuff and to be safe. But most of the lighting in there is from Gantom. So yeah, it did.
Yeah, and the other great thing about LEDs is that you can target them, where most incandescent lights, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Logan Sharp wants to know if you have any ideas on tips and tricks on how to get that crazy detail you have in your haunt.
I'm going to go back to the garage sailing. I went to the garage sale, and any garage sale that I went to, I had in mind thinking, what's going to be in a cabin? So as you saw in the previous photo, skis, an old bed. I found the bedpan under there.
My favorite.
Old pictures. Yeah. I thought about filling that up with fluid, but I thought someone would tip it over and freak out if there was pee rolling down the driveway.
But you didn't have to put actual pee in it, Chris.
No, I'm a haunter, so detail. I probably put yellow. I probably put like yellow.
Gotta get that smell.
Like apple juice.
Well, you put apple juice and ammonia and get the smell, and then you don't actually have that pee in a bowl.
Yeah, or Froggy's frog urine stuff, and just pour it in there.
There you go.
Make it realistic.
Chris, go pee, bro.
Garage sailing. And a lot of YouTube videos on how to paint. This is the first year I've kind of tried to paint with some details. So I used Alan Hopp's, I think it's Still Beat Studios, way of scenic painting, and just did that. Was just basically with brown paint and a piece of plywood and black spray paint.
You're talking about the wall
just
panels
made sure
there?
all the lines line up.
The
wall panels. Yeah,
the wall panels there?
Yeah,
that looks great.
Yeah.
Now the skeleton on the wall, did you make that guy? Because I love that.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. That's from DC Props in California. That's a piece that I bought about 5 years ago. Yeah.
What's he doing?
It's just so creepy.
Yeah. He's holding candles. I thought he was holding his knees. I thought he was sitting over that bedpan.
I was staring at it.
Squatting over the bedpan. Yeah.
I must admit, Granny even looks so real, by the way.
Yeah, that's from
Granny.
That's actually,
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Me? Doug Cox wants to know how you attach your foam walls so they come down easily each year.
So those aren't foam walls. Those are actually 1/4-inch plywood that I screw to the actual walls of my garage. And the backdrop is just, I think, 1x2s. Attached to a 2x4 that I have going across the top of my garage and attached to the rafters. Yeah.
Nice.
And I guess somebody asked about Granny. I'm going to do a Canadian plug. The Granny was made by Haunted House Creations here in Toronto, Paul Hopkins, and he does amazing work. And people, I swear to God, walked into that looking at her thinking she was a real person, and a lot of people said that was a fantastic makeup job on Granny, and I'm like, that wasn't a real person.
Right. I don't know
that. She's behind you.
Incredible.
No, she's behind me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. That face, there's a certain look to Paul's props. There's a certain style, and that face is so signature of his stuff. I have the good fortune to live right near Paul, so I get to drop by there and see the stuff he's working on sometimes.
Yes.
Oh, I think like the glasses like makes it. It's like you don't know if it's like real or not. You're like, oh,
and that's detail. I just went to the dollar store and bought a pair of reading glasses and put her on there to make her look like Granny.
That's awesome. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So I think this picture is a picture of my front yard. It changes a little bit from year to year, but the big thing that I like to really concentrate and work on is the garage. So unfortunately, this year I'm debating whether to scrap the front yard and just go with the garage and spend a lot of time, because a typical haunter, you run out of time. This year I want to really concentrate on getting the details and adding a lot of the stuff that I wanted to, that I couldn't this year because I did a lot of work on putting the.
You could just make it a photo op if you had to.
I was debated doing that. I debated taking the sign that was out front, at the very front, and making some kind of photo op just for the front. Yeah. That's what I totally do.
Now, during the season, does your whole street fill up with cars from people? Just how does that work?
Yeah, the street kind of fills up around. I'm usually open about 3 nights, and the first night's a little quiet. The second night, I do collect money for a charity here in Barrie, and I guess word of mouth travels quickly because actually those days are pretty busy, steadily getting busier and busier each year. So we get a fair bit of traffic, but Halloween night is usually a lot of slow traffic inching by, taking a look, and depending on how cold it is, whether they get out of their car or not to come and take a look.
We've had questions of, number 1, how many actors do you have in your haunt? And number 2, do you act also, or are you like the supervisor?
Yeah, so the past couple years, I've had a couple people that would, help me act. And last year, the past couple years, I've been trying it myself, and I'm hooked. It's so much fun. But it's hard to do it with. It's hard to do it while you're kind of looking after stuff and making sure everything's running properly and making sure the crowds are great. But this year, I was lucky enough. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 actors, 5 including myself, and one guy that came by one night just to help me with crowd control and being at the front door. So next year, I already have about 2 more people that are willing to come, so they'll make it around 7. Yeah, it's
okay,
fun.
we're going to move on to Christine for a little bit. Christine, we're going to take a look at some more of your pictures here.
Hey.
So, Phil, where are they? Come on.
We're
not looking
laying
at them
down
right
on the
now,
job. Over there. Where are they?
Again,
right now, I just see your face. I don't see any pictures.
Again, that's scary.
Isn't this a great picture?
All right, Christine, we'll stall.
Scariest prop I've ever made.
That's a great shot right there. That's great. So where is this in your haunt?
So this is the Necromancer. He is a Scare Factory animatronic, and definitely our biggest, largest, most expensive prop that we own. So he gets the star treatment and gets to live in the garage where he never has to move and never has to touch the weather.
That's a big garage.
He's spoiled.
Sorry, give us a sense of scale. How big is he?
He stands about 20 feet tall.
Oh wow!
When he fully stands up.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think he's about 12 when he's crouched down like that. But when you trigger him, he stands up. He speaks Latin. His arms move and various.
He speaks Latin. Did you say?
Yep, he's more learned than I am.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a great prop and definitely an attention stopper. The problem with him is that you can only run him every so often. So we kind of have to catch people, hold them there, trigger it, get them to stay there, and often they're running right out because they're scared or whatever.
Does he use up a lot of air, I bet, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
He uses up a lot of air, and that is actually the one issue with weather here is even if we don't have snow and stuff, it's often quite cold, and the air in the pipes will actually freeze. Any condensation in there. So we yeah, so the last
that's a whole other issue.
Canada. We haunt for wheels up here.
This last year was really nice weather-wise, so we managed to avoid it. But a few years before that, we've actually had a rental company donate industrial heaters that go in and keep necky warm. The rest of us actors have to freeze.
Darren Smith wants to know,
do
you build any of your props, or are they all store-bought, or a mixture of the two?
A mixture of the two. I mean, definitely we've bought a lot over the years. We've been doing it for 25 plus years now. Depends on when you decide you're a haunter. But we've really gotten into building in the last few years, and I think our focus has been more on sets than actual like individual props, but definitely something we're trying to do more and more of.
We've also had.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, I was gonna say we've also had questions on how you deal with traffic. Do you have a problem with people parking and all the crowds?
So we do have a lot of traffic. We got signs made up a couple of years ago. We had a sign company donate them, asking people to park safely, respect our neighbors, that kind of thing, because it was quite an issue. We used to have some friends who would volunteer to direct traffic, but they've kind of abandoned post the last few years. So, and honestly, I think that's a good thing, because I guess the city's of the opinion that as soon as you start directing traffic, then you're liable for anything that happens when they're directed. So we put out posts on Facebook and all our social media in advance, begging people to please walk, take transit, all the environmentally friendly things as well. And if you have to drive, at least carpool, and to try to park a couple blocks away and walk in. We're also lucky we live on a cul-de-sac that has some visitor parking, but usually by the time actors get there, there's no parking left anyways.
Christine, I think we should probably clarify for our American viewers tonight. I don't know if they realize that when we're talking about traffic, we're talking about dog sleds up here. Lair trouble.
All the dogs don't get along.
Yeah, you have to hitch each sled, at least 8 feet apart so that the dogs don't fight. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we're already getting lots of questions about these stained glass windows that are up. Did people want to know? Did you make those? Buy those? Tell us everything.
Yeah. So yeah, those stained glass windows we made. My boyfriend and I made those 2 years ago now, and they were so much fun. And actually, one of my favorite props. We just took scrap pieces of plexiglass, just whatever shape and size we had, and we got some glass paints, and I found some designs on the internet and shamelessly traced them because I'm not an artist. And then we painted them in, and they were really, really popular, and we just put lights in behind them. And so we had them on a church scene originally, and this year we built this facade that is meant to be the Bates house from Psycho. And so we've repurposed them into some stained glass for that.
So does it look like did you put rope lighting around it? Is that how you lit the windows?
Yeah, that was rope lighting. It's not necessarily the best, but we kind of worked with what we had.
I think it works pretty well. It looks good.
Yeah, it works all right.
Now, what scene is this that you have up here? Is this like a wasteland type thing?
That's amazing.
Yeah, this is an endless hallway, and it's something my dad put together. He's our main construction guy, and sort of the other co-creator of the haunt. He did this a few years ago, and we've just left it up, and it's amazing. It needs a little bit of repairs and stuff, but this year we used it. It wasn't really effectively used this year. It was kind of like the far end of our Shining hallway. But
that's a great scene. I love how that looks.
Yeah, I love that.
Those curved ceilings. This is incredible.
Yeah, so you can see it kind of goes off to the side. The audience would be coming, sort of straight in towards this girl, and then they would turn right, where we have a long hallway that sort of runs along a retaining wall along the side of the property and the garage, and it's about 80 feet. And I've posted in Haunters Hangout before about what to do with this hallway, because it is the bane of my existence. It is horrible looking all the time. We got it spray foam insulated, and originally it was a tunnel with a roof, but the city made us take the roof off of it. And so now it's just this weird spray foam walled, really long area that's not really wide enough to do a whole lot of scares or anything in. So
someone wants to know how you made the spider webs that are in that tunnel.
They are probably authentic. I don't think we actually biology for the win, entomology.
That's great. Right before we move on, what is that wire on that actress's face there?
I think it was actual barbed wire. That was a new actress this year who we got like, you know, one of our actors from previous years roped her in this year through their church, and she was amazing. She showed up to our her and her friends showed up to our actors meeting in full makeup, and were just like, they blew me away. They'd never haunted before, never done anything, but they were so gung-ho, and they were just amazing actors. So yeah,
that's wonderful, Christine. Yeah. Hector, where are your pictures? How come Hector's pictures aren't up? I don't see them.
I knew that was going to happen.
Sorry,
Phil, I tried beating.
I know. I saw you skip ahead.
He was right on.
So this is anyone who's searched Googled Halloween ideas on the internet has probably come across this. This is Hector's. Was this your most famous, well-known prop, Hector?
Probably, yeah, probably. It started off years ago. It was a Haunt Forum $20 prop building contest.
That definitely was my favorite.
The original
of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
Oh, thanks. One of those things, you know, you're always, you know, the same as Chris with the garage sales. You know, you're always on the lookout. And so I was in this little antique shop and came across these two old piano legs. You know, and they wanted, like, you know, I think $20 for, or no, because it was a $20. No, I think it was $5. Yeah. And so it was just a steal. So I picked up the legs, and then, okay, well, how can I, you know, build something around this? And then so you start putting all the foam together, and you know, I was able to put the tombstone together and make it look really architectural. And there's lots of details in there. And then and you can't really see it here, but it is sort of cracked in the center. And I did originally have some paper mache tentacles coming out, which were the infamous Fruit Loops tentacles. Mm-hmm. And so I made the tentacles out of paper mache with the plastic bags and everything. And then, again, because it was the $20 prop contest, you're really struggling to keep the cost down. And so for the suckers, I used Fruit Loops and glued them all on, and then painted and shellacked everything over top, which looked great. But eventually the mice got to it and chewed them all off. And then so the new tentacles I've got there was it was actually a chest piece that I did for a costume I wore to MXC.
Oh, I remember that.
Sort of a Lovecraft inspired costume.
So when you found those piano legs and you were looking for something to do with it, when you found those piano legs and you were looking for something to do with it, you didn't consider a haunted piano? So you've since rebuilt this here. And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the tentacles that I've got there, they're pool noodles that are bent and carved to shape. And then all the suckers and all the details, it's a lot of hot glue. And so I would just build up the hot glue layer upon layer upon layer in order to get the three-dimensional aspect.
What about the eyeball? How did you pull that off? Because that looks great.
It's a big styrofoam ball from a craft store. And then I printed on. I got the irises from the internet, downloaded them, printed them off on a color printer, and then glued them on, and then painted on all the veins and everything.
And did you put varnish on top of that to seal it in? Or?
Yeah. I used like a really high gloss varnish, to get the effect.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then this tombstone, this one is a fairly old one. It's just a dollar store three-dimensional plastic bat, and I foam filled it so that I could attach it to the tombstone itself. And then originally I had carved in an epitaph that was, I think, it said Dracula or something. And I was never really happy with that. I didn't want something to be that obvious. So 2 years ago, I created the metal-looking plaque. And again, it's all just foam. The letters are carved out using a Dremel. It's the first time I've used a Dremel for tombstones. Normally, I use either a wood burning tool or a hot wire tool. So this was the first time I used the Dremel to actually carve everything out. And for this instance, it worked really well. But I hate the mess. You know, you get the foam snow going everywhere. So
Yeah,
I don't know how much I'll use it.
The letters are pretty deep. So, I mean, that's a lot of foam.
Yeah, it's about a quarter-inch deep, yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
Oh, you didn't cut those letters out and glue them on? You negative?
No, I negative cut it. So it started off with a sheet of foam, and then I carved into it.
Oh,
that's why he's like, that's messy.
Yeah.
Did you do the same thing with this tombstone here?
No, this one was used the wood burning tool, and all the different. I think it's about 5 different layers that I cut everything out and then sandwiched it all together wedding cake style to build up the 3-dimensional aspect.
Yeah, who wants all the foam mess all over the garage floor when you can breathe it all in your nose with wood burning tool?
Christopher Presley wants to know, what is your preferred method for carving?
I still use the old wood burning tool. I've got the original one that I used, and then I've got several that I purchased since then. It was funny because I've been using my original one for years, buildup of foam on it, and so it doesn't run as hot as it used to, which is good because then it doesn't melt the foam as quick, so it gives you more control. But I remember I was teaching a make and take on how to do foam carving, and everybody had these brand new wood burning tools, and they were just melting like crazy, and they had no control, and I couldn't figure out why. But it was because my old one, wasn't actually running at the correct temperature, because it had this buildup. So you could use use like a power supply with a dimmer switch on it to control the heat.
If I'm with a wood burning tool, you got to move your hand quickly. You have to be decisive what you're doing.
You have to commit to it. Yeah, you sort of because if you hesitate, then it's just going to continue melting.
Yeah.
So you sort of have to commit to it and go in and keep your hand moving at all times. And then when you're finished a letter or whatever, lift it off the surface so it doesn't continue to melt.
I remember when I was pouring through all your tutorials on your website and stuff, or your demos on your website, I saw this one and I thought, that's really creative. I don't know if you had seen this somewhere else before, if you had seen it somewhere else, or if you were the first to do this, but this is a great idea to put into
I was going to after
you. Go ahead.
Sorry? I modeled it after an actual tombstone that I saw a photo of.
Oh, okay.
I was going to ask you leave it up all year and then just weed whack around it and then leave the grass to grow up natural.
No, that's all fake grass from Michael's in the dollar store. So it's actually built on a flat piece of plywood. And then I carved the tombstone in one piece like you normally would, and then cut it all apart to make it look cracked, and then built up the thicknesses, so it wouldn't sit flat on the ground. And then just hot glued in all the fake weeds.
It's fantastic.
That's
Thanks. Hector, we're gonna move on to Jason and Chrissy again. And it's okay, Phil. Take your time. We got lots of time.
Oh, we saw Phil switch up.
Yep. Put me on the spot. Damn it.
And we'll take a look at some more of your sweet pictures from Halloween, Old Hallows Eve. Was that?
Help me.
I thought there were 2 babies kissing each other, but
hey, see, Chris, now that's a haunted. They use real pee on them walls.
Exactly.
I'm guessing this is the foam room.
Yeah.
None of this fake nonsense.
They said to let the kids hang out in the wintertime. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And that's why they hang out, yes. Too lazy to walk back in. So yeah, this is the padded room, and one of our older boys gave him free reign of it this year. Normally, I don't let anybody kind of build anything. I just kind of direct. But this year I let him do what he wanted in there. This is what he came up with. He spent hours out there trying to get the walls padded and just all the tarps and all that. And then somebody else came in and started doing the writing.
Jay peed on the walls.
And then, yeah.
How old is your boy that
21?
21, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. We did do a tub scene last year or the year before.
Last year.
But we never really had paint on the walls. I never had the pipes and that kind of stuff. So we moved it to a different part of the yard. This is now on our lawn, which again, fake grass, so you won't kill it. And then we separated it with everything and added just the blood and splatter and everything like that. People like this. We had actors hiding in behind the curtains. So when they're looking at one, they could jump out from another. And even if they went through twice, the actor has plenty of places to hide again.
Now, how would this be lit on the night? I imagine what we're looking at here, you've got some other lights on to take the picture, right?
Yes.
We just had flickering lights in there, didn't we?
Yeah, we had some red lights, LED lights, and we had some flickering lights. So when the flickering white lights would shut off, which was long pauses, then it was all red.
Cool.
And then when they came back on, it was kind of disorienting too, because the white light would kind of blind you and then shut off real fast again, and then you'd see it all in the dark in the red.
That's cool.
I think you need to get a plumber, by the way. I think your tub's a little backed up there.
Yes. All right, so another picture, another angle. We had the 3 tubs, so I wanted to utilize all 3. Here's 2 of them. And then, I forget the guy's name, but when I was at the West Coast Hunters Convention 2 years ago, I got the head there, which is up there on the wall. Shoot, I can't remember his name. And then just wanted to try to make it look like somebody was in it. Didn't have enough time to put the straps across the sides and that, but it is what it is. Everybody liked it. All that wet stain on the tub, that's actually from the rain that seeps through those tarps. So it worked, and we were okay with that.
Free detail.
Anthony wants to know if that's real tile in the bathroom.
Yeah, they're I think they're $50 a sheet. You can get it at Home Depot type thing. Luckily, I know somebody at Home Depot that whenever I go in there, I get a discount kind of thing, and I get
a discount, or they get passed out the back door.
No, I get $50 every time I go in. They give me a $50 gift certificate.
Oh, nice.
So every time I went in and bought something else, I would just add one of those or any type of panel that I needed that was pricey. And so I'd buy 1 or 2 every couple of days. Sometimes I'd go back 5-6 days in a row just to get the deal.
Allie Aldridge wants to know, with all that water, do you have an issue with mold?
No, not so far.
Mold doesn't grow as far north as Alberta.
You have to worry about ice skating.
So like Christine said, we didn't get a lot of snow leading up to Halloween or Halloween. We had a lot of rain, and even on Halloween day, it rained all morning where we were, all the way up until an hour before we opened. And then the snow came November 1st. But our yard is on a little bit of a thing, and with the fake grass, it has an infill, which is a silica sand type thing. So any water that does go through, the silica sand absorbs it really fast. So we didn't have to worry about any water in the backyard, even anything that did leak through.
Yeah, and any of the curtains or anything like that, we would just put them into the house. If we had to throw them in the dryer quickly before we put them in a bin, we do. That's good.
I was going to say your grass looks pretty damn green for people walking through it a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this room. This is pretty cool.
Okay. After the tub room, they come through a hallway, and then right where that stay out is in the far corner there, it's like you're going through the wall. It's about 2 feet wide. It's about 8 feet to 10 feet long. And when you're leaving the tub room, it's like you're going through a broken part of the wall. You're in between the walls, and then you come out this way. And then now you're in the locker room, and on the other side, there's some bathroom stalls. To the left, there's a sink. And again, this is like an asylum, but it's not, it's kind of condemned. People are still working there, but people still break in and do their graffiti and all that kind of stuff. And
did it come with all the graffiti on it, or did you actually have somebody paint all that?
Yeah, we paid some local teenager that actually tags trains.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, that's sweet.
Cindy Wortman wants to know, do you use scents in your haunt?
Yes, Froggy Frogs, all kinds of scents. So I have about 10 to 15 different scents. People hate it, but they love it. Sometimes I overdo it.
Sometimes
because I think that it's not smelling enough, so I constantly spray like in the bathroom thing. Like normally, some people would put like 3 to 4 squirts on those sheets. I was like 20 on each sheet and just made sure that it was nice and powerful and that type of thing.
Wow.
Even some of the props after Halloween was over and we brought them in the house, and then we stored and cleaned and got them all ready. Like even a week after they were gone, it was still smelling like the scents in our house and stuff. But I like it. I don't care. I liked it.
Well, speaking of squirts on sheets,
it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
You know, Jason. One picture, one of that last picture of Jason's kind of reminded me of one of Christine's images and one of Hector's. The third one of Hector's and the fourth of Christine's. Phil, could you call all those 3 up at the same time?
Yeah, let me.
No, we're gonna move back to Chris now and go through the rest of Chris's pictures. Have a look at them. So what are we looking at here?
Phil was right on it. He got it.
Yeah, good work, Phil.
Ahead of you on that one.
So the question is, are those natural spider webs?
No, they're the spider webs with the web gun.
Oh, okay. Not the real thing, I guess.
No, they're not. No.
Now, I notice you have that camo kind of stuff at the top there. Is that to kind of have the feeling of a ceiling without actually having to? Because I imagine that would give you the. Or did you want it to look like camo? Like, what was the thinking there?
I kind of wanted to. I didn't really want to put a roof on there because it would be problematic with rain and snow.
Right.
And if I never got any of that stuff on there, then it would probably sand properly. So I just put camo. It actually did a pretty good job of holding the fog in, and if it was really raining, it did a pretty good to the point where people wouldn't get soaked when they were in there.
Right.
So this is
this part is outside.
Sorry,
then.
Go ahead.
Right. I got
this
a
part
question.
is the outside.
How do you have like real spider webs in Canada?
No, that's not enough better.
That's been bugging me like the whole time when she first said it. She's like, "That's real." I was like, "Well, you don't start setting up till winter time, and then how do you get real spider webs?"
We do have. Believe it or not,
are they like winter spiders or something?
They're called the maple syrup
spider.
It's
a called
spider.
And they do.
Okay.
Sorry,
that's been bugging me like the whole time she said it. It's like, that's real. I'm like, you got winter spiders?
Well, so that scene though has stayed up for like, I don't know, it's been there for 5 years or something.
Oh, you didn't take it down.
And hasn't been taken down, yeah, because it's kind of in a corner.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hell no. They got winter
spiders?
spiders?
It would have been nice when we were talking about that if we had seen that picture of Christine's, but that's okay. Let's get back to Chris.
Shut up, Brad.
Hold on, I'll get right on that.
So the previous photo was the backdrop to the area that went outdoor. This is where they stood, and I hope they could see the license plates on the backdrop. And the black wall, and if you're facing this direction, behind you is the wall that I had the actor sit behind when he came out of. So they basically stood in here, and if you go to the next photo, the Uncle Ned there on the left is the guy that would tell the story of the. And I made sure to make the fence so that no one would go in the garage and touch stuff. And as soon as I went through the routine, lights went out, and lights came on. That actor behind you would come out, but if you saw in one of the previous photos, the door would open and it would come running at them right up to the fence. and that scared the crap out of some people too.
Oh, that's cool.
So did you close your garage door every night?
I did close my garage door. All I had to do was just remove that, pull Uncle Nettie in, and that was it. And everything else stayed.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it was very convenient. Yeah.
Well, you had the new facade this year, though, didn't you?
I acquired it, I guess, from Chris Ainsworth, and that is the front of the cabin, and built panels that attach to the interior of the garage, stick out about 6 feet onto my driveway. And apparently that's as far as in my driveway. We're not expanding the haunt any further, according to my significant other. So 6 feet is as far as we go.
So it's either 6 feet out or 6 feet down, right? You choose.
6 feet up. Yeah. So again, this is the fireplace that I made. Actually walked into the cabin of terror. They heard a soundtrack of and with that combined with the smoke that was coming out of it, which was campfire smell, flickering lights, it actually looked like a real fireplace. And I mean that when they came in from the cold into there, they were like, oh, I feel warm again, because it actually gave them the sense that there was a
nice.
Yeah.
We've had some questions on whether or not you have a problem with patrons tearing up things as they go through.
As what? Sorry?
Oh, people are asking if you have a problem with people coming through your haunt, if they touch stuff and tear things up, that sort of thing.
No, I haven't had anyone vandalize anything, knock on wood, as of yet. They've all been pretty good. I haven't had any shenanigans of people, running through and damaging stuff either. I've been lucky.
We've had a bunch of people ask, what is the overall theme of your haunt?
A couple of years, I can go with. I think the first one that I did was haunted hotel. Then I did the hospital and the cabin. I actually, when doing it myself, I like sticking with one theme because I can actually broaden out and go in different directions. And I'm going to stick with actually the cabin theme again this year, because it's much easier. I don't have to build a lot of sets and stuff because most of it's already built. Yeah.
So you plan on doing some other stuff? Doing some different.
I think this year I'm going to make it rather than a display, it's going to be extra square footage sitting out on the garage. So for that,
right.
I love the idea of a one scene though. I definitely might take you up on your idea there for this year for myself.
What's that?
On the whole one scene. I like that idea of just taking over the garage and just doing one scene. I gotta keep it basic, but I want to make it.
Got two scenes, and it becomes as much as you want. Now that I have a clear focus theme, it's great. So,
I do the same thing. As the last 2 years, that's what I've done is just one scene. It's a lot more manageable.
I think Phil's got to be like one big giant prop though. He should be making this year. I don't know.
I know.
So did we go through all the way through Chris's pictures then?
Nope, not all of them.
Not all, but we're going to move on to
all right, we'll move on for now, then we'll move on to Christine again. Okay. Take a look at some more of Christine's pictures. And Phil's got them at the ready. So what do we got here, Christine?
So this is a little bit better view of our new build for this year. This is the Bates house facade, and then we had the motel down below. This is a photo taken by the photographer for the Calgary Herald newspaper, so it was one of the features there.
Wow, how tall is that?
That's what I was going to ask, yeah.
Tall enough that we are in some fairly significant trouble with the city over it.
No.
Yeah, like what do you do? How is that secured against the stiff wind?
So it was actually really well secured. It was built onto my parents' deck, sort of wrapped around. It had cross bracing. They have like a secondary deck on their second level of their house. So we cross braced to that.
Oh, okay. Because I was like,
right.
yeah. I was like, yeah, the deck? No.
Yeah. So it was tied in on 3 levels, including like actual like significant like deck, like load bearing deck beams, as well as then it was cross braced with the rest of the haunt maze. So we actually had really high winds. Like city decided they gave us a wind limit that we would have to shut down if it exceeded, and we were very, very close to it. But in the a couple days leading up to Halloween, we had like 100-kilometer-an-hour wind gusts, which I don't know what that translates to in miles. But they were very, very strong winds, so much so that houses that were under construction in Saskatchewan next to us actually blew down, like Big Bad Wolf, Huff, Bluff, and blow your house down. And our haunt was fine. And I kind of said, you know, suck it to the city inspectors. And they didn't really like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't recommend. So
I thought you were supposed to pay them off, but suck it.
Could be why they don't like us. So our theme this year was Hollywood horror. So we took inspiration from a variety of, you know, Hollywood favorites. This scene was my scene and my boyfriend's scene, and we did The Exorcist. So I was Regan, and he was the priest.
My favorite.
This was one of the most effective characters I think I've ever done. In that our first night we had kind of a window into the scene where you could see into our room a few rooms before you actually got to us in the maze, and people kept looking in and kind of getting the spoiler. So Ryan was like, well, why don't you vomit on the window, you know, like the famous Exorcist Regan vomiting scene. So I got a bunch of baby food, and I would like, you know, moaning and groaning, and then I would just like leap, like projectile forward to them and projectile vomit right on the window into their faces.
Oh no!
Dude, I am so jealous and mad at myself that I don't even go that step further, dude. I'm like,
no. I feel the opposite. Chris is using fake pee. She's using.
I know this is like
Let's get some real haunters on here.
So let me tell you, I just kind of grabbed everything on the shelf that looked like it would be a green color, and some of them were pretty good. Some of them, there might have been some real vomit in there. I don't recommend all of them.
Right. I mean, I think it's cool that you set them up for your scene before they got to you. I mean, I think that's the coolest thing. Is like, you know, they're coming in, they see Regan like, you know, doing it, and they're like, oh, that's Regan, this and that, and then you like spew them, and then okay, now you got to come through the scene. It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, foreshadowing. That's great.
We had a lot of people that like they would stop and they would refuse to go through our scene.
That is so awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's funny. We just got a question about that. Is do you have an issue with your guests bunching up, or how do you keep them moving?
Sometimes, usually we would have somebody come in and scare them from the back if it became an issue. Or the priest would go in and kind of like, you know, my children, come with me, kind of, you know, get them moving. But yeah, we had quite a long skit, so we could keep it going as long as they didn't have people in behind them. We were able to keep it going for quite a while. So
this is a great scene here.
Yeah, this was our Chucky doll warehouse, and the actor that you see there, he's I think he's about 12 years old, and he's a little person, and he wanted to be Chucky. Like from the minute we said Hollywood horror, he was like, I am Chucky. And I was like, oh, perfect. And he was one of the best actors out there. Like he's just so, he was quiet, and he would just come up at people at exactly the right height. And we had so many comments on him.
See, I can imagine. So you said he's 12, and he's a little person, right? So yeah. I guess he's smaller than your average 12-year-old. So that would be very confusing to the patron coming through, right? Like how someone who's acting sort of that level of like acting and maturity to be able to pull that off at that height would come through. That would be very unsettling to people, right?
It was, yeah. Well, and so we actually had two Chuckies because we had him and a little girl who's also like just an amazing haunt actor. She's 7, I think now, but she's creepy as hell. And between the two of them, they would just corner people. And we had so many dolls in there. We have about 300 or so dolls that we have in our prop supplies. So
300 dolls are in that room?
Well, we didn't have them all out this year. We kind of ran out of time, but there was more than you can see in that picture. But
all right, so is that a garage, or is that whole thing a scene you set?
So it's a scene that we set, but it's in a garage. So specifically designed it. My dad's an electrician, so he has a lot of tools and materials.
That's what I was wondering. Was all this stuff in there, and then you added stuff to it, or you guys actually displayed all that?
Well, so some of it's in there. We built the walls, we built the conveyor belts, and we set specific tools out so that they could be seen. But it was also a great way of like hiding some of our crap in plain sight, because that's always the biggest challenge, is how do I get rid of all this stuff. So
well, Harold Kleins wants to know, do you have chicken exits for people who decide they can't make it through?
So this year, actually, we did add a chicken route, kind of. It was right at the very beginning of the haunt, though, so you kind of needed to opt out immediately. That said, I'm in the process of designing our haunts in a 3D model on SketchUp right now for 2018. And because the fire department is really cracking down on us, I have an idea I'm playing around with for like a true emergency exit after hallway kind of thing, which I think my goal with it is it'll also double as a chicken route. So throughout at least the first half of the haunt, you should be able to chicken out if you're needing to.
And how often does that happen?
Quite a bit, actually. So we do a low scare option in the daytime, and we always recommend that kids come through then. So a lot of people will come through then so that they know what to expect, and they usually chicken out then. Once they're in at night, they're kind of there, and we make fun of them. So
I've always wanted to do a.
Did you have an adult in the?
Sorry, go ahead, Hector. Go ahead, Hector.
I was just going to ask, with the two kids in that room, did you also have an adult in there that would sort of monitor, or did you have any problems with the kids, with the patrons coming through?
No problems with those guys. The little girl, her parents both act in the haunt, and her siblings do as well, so they're always around. Her dad's one. We didn't have an adult specifically in this exact room, but we had an adult in the room right adjacent to it. So and they were kind of open to, so essentially they were in the room.
Okay.
As long as you don't mind children hearing.
Yeah, because that's one thing I always worry about with my daughter.
Yeah, and it's all like their parents sort of decided that they were going to be there and stuff, so it's fine.
Sweet. Okay, so we're gonna move along now to Hector again, and take a look at some more of Hector's photos. So tell us what we're looking at here, Hector.
Yeah, this was a collaboration, actually. It was a local haunter, Andrew Grant, posted that he was getting rid of some of his older props, and he had this Monster Mud skeleton monument that he wanted to offload. So I scooped it up immediately. And then when I got it to my place, I guess it had seen a little bit better days in terms of the base. It was just he built it, I guess, with the white styrofoam, and it was sort of falling off the base and really tippy. So I totally dismantled the base, and you can't see it here in the photo, but I built it all up, put on some molding, and then the inside of the skeleton, it's just a Costco skeleton with sheets and monster mud. But what I ended up doing is I filled with great stuff as much as I could. I completely filled the inside of it, which made it a lot stronger. And then I got the plastic sword from a costume store and incorporated that, as well as some other details and stuff. And so I was really happy with it. I'd never done any monster mud myself, and Andrew did such a great job on this. It was a great addition to the cemetery.
What'd you use in your monster mud? Did you use anything? Did you use somebody's tutorial, or did you make your own type of monster mud?
I think Andrew just used the regular drywall paint, and then what I did is once I'd filled it with the foam, I completely covered it all with dry lock, a couple coats, just to give it some additional protection, and then painted on top of that.
That's good.
Nice.
This is a photo. This is a photo from not this past year, but the year before. So this is the scarecrow and cornstalk scene that I normally do, this was the 2016, and I think I had close to 200 stalks that I set up.
Are those real pumpkins or pumpkins?
So I think this is what. No, those are all foam pumpkins. I always get a couple of real pumpkins with the ambition to carve them, and I always run out of time.
Yeah.
The scarecrow, it was built for the scarecrow, but I always I made the hole in the bottom big enough that I could fit my head on into it, so that the idea was that I could always use it as a backup as a costume, and I've done that a couple years now.
Now, did you have a local farm that would donate the corn stalks, and you had to cut them yourself?
I wish.
Or? Oh, really?
No, I go to a local garden center that I've been able to find, so I can get. I think they sell me a bundle of 6 stalks for $3 a bundle. So it's still, by the time I'm all said and done, and you buy the hay bales, it's the single sort of non-reusable expense for the haunt every year. But it's the cheapest I've been able to find, because if you go to the home centers or other places, you're talking almost $10 for a bundle, which is crazy.
Nice.
We're having a lot of questions on how you weatherproof your props.
Well, the tombstones I don't weatherproof because they're all made out of the pink or the blue foam insulation, and that doesn't need weatherproofing. So I just put on a couple coats of the latex paint, interior, exterior, it doesn't matter. And then the only time I'll ever use dry lock is if it is something like, say, the monster mud, or I was using for some pillars, or on my mausoleum, I had some cardboard sonotubes. So again, I'll use dry lock there to seal the cardboard, but the actual foam I don't have to.
Nice. Now,
with this scene, this is the. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Go ahead.
Talk about the spider scene.
No, I was just going to say this is the spider scene. So I have this on one half of my garage, and for years I was using the spider webs that you buy at the party store, and you put it into storage, and then it would always take at least a couple hours to untangle the damn thing. So I finally had enough, and there was a tutorial on YouTube where you make a wooden frame and then put in a bunch of eye holes or eye hooks, and then you actually do like a macrame spider web. So this spider web stays in the frame, and then I move the whole thing in and out, and it goes up into storage. So it's really quick and easy to put in place.
That's cool. That's actually very creative. Really neat. Oh, is that your front door?
And then this is the front porch, yeah. So this is where the kids finally have to come up and get the Halloween candy.
Oh, cool.
So I don't have a walkthrough. This is about as close as I can get to a walkthrough because it is the covered porch. So I sort of go nuts and I do as much detail as I can. But I've had a lot of fun with this in terms of all the potions and books and details that I can throw in there.
That prop in the corner there, is that a mask or is that a foam head?
No, that's it's an animatronic. I think it's distortions. It's Rocking Granny. And I think originally she was sort of dressed up like the granny in Psycho. And so I put a new outfit on her, and then she's in like an antique wheelchair. And then so she rocks back and forth, and I just repurposed her as a witch. But she really freaks the kids out.
That witch's shelf there in the corner was a major source of inspiration to me after I saw the shelf that Hector has and all the insane little details on it. I had to have something like that in the next year's haunt, and I went crazy and did something like that. It's just, I don't know if we end up having a picture of the close-ups of that, but there's so many interesting things on that shelf.
Yeah, there you can see it.
Coming through flow.
Yeah, you sort of go crazy, you know, after a bit, you know, in terms of, you know, details upon details. But you're always on the lookout for some cool stuff you can put in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Allie Aldridge wants to know, do you have actors?
Yeah, I do. I've got it's family. So I have myself will be in costume, and then my brother normally comes out to help, and he does like a great sort of grave digger. There we are.
Wow, look at that!
So he's
on point.
He's got a lot of improv and comedy experience, so he does a lot of interaction with the people coming up the driveway, and you know, really getting into character with them. And then my wife helps out. You know, the last couple of years, she's, you know, as my daughter has gotten older and doesn't need someone to go around trick or treating with her, then my wife has sort of, you know, stepped up, and she plays, you know, this ghostly character in the graveyard, and is really popular. And then my daughter's helped out for about the last 4 years. She's 12 now, and she's great. She really gets into it. In fact, now, you know, she sort of runs out, does the trick-or-treating as fast as she can because she wants to get back and help out in the graveyard and help scare people.
Now, Hector, there's that fencing again. What, I know that you mentioned it before, but what's the top piece there? Is that garden fencing that you were saying?
Yeah, it's just garden borders, plastic garden borders that you can get at the dollar store. And so I saw it. And then what I did is when I did the PVC tubes for the uprights, I made sure that the spacing on them matched the spacing on the garden portion as well. So it does look like it's all one piece. And then the posts are just 2x2 wood with, you can sort of see it there in the center, the finial on the top of the post. That was finials on the end of curtain rods, and I found a bunch of them really cheap at Habitats for Humanity, the Restore. So they get screwed down into the 2x2s, and then everything gets painted to look like rusted wrought iron.
Christopher Presley wants to know if your actors kind of came up with their own characters, or did you tell them what you wanted them to be?
No, I tell them what they do. Yeah. No. I've sort of developed the characters over a couple of years. So we got this costume for my wife, and then this year we did some sort of more elaborate white makeup with really dark circles around her eyes. And then next year we've got actually a really cool mask for her to wear. So then again, what she was doing is she would sort of pose really still and fairly close to one of the fog machines. And so the fog machine would come out and literally envelop her in the fog to the point where you couldn't see her. And then she would change her pose. And then when the fog would dissipate a little bit, then she'd be in a different position. And it would really, really freak people out because they couldn't figure out, you know, did she move? Did she not move? Did you see that? You know? And so because my yard display, everything is out in the open, so there isn't a lot of opportunity for startle scares, so it's all about the creep factor.
Oh, that's nice.
And this is my daughter from this year. So yeah, she wore that. She wanted to be scarier. She wanted to get more screams. And so I said, well, you know, then we've got to come up with something really, really creepy for you. So I found the mask from Cellar Door Effects. And then the dress I got from an online seamstress, and then distressed it and ripped it up and stained it and just literally trashed it. And then the cleaver is it's a cast resin replicable antique cleaver. I think Brad's got one as well.
Yeah. Is that
it's a really great prop.
What's that boot thing on her foot? Is that one of those if you got a spring?
No, that's a boot cast. She just before Halloween she was playing soccer at school and fractured her foot.
Oh, okay. You know what I was gonna
trooper.
That's terrible, but I was gonna say that's a fucking genius idea to make the kid walk for you for this.
Yeah. Well, it really affected her gait, as you can imagine. So that like when she was walking around, she didn't really have to exaggerate that much in order to get this really weird sort of limping sort of gait to it.
So, question for next Halloween: can I just put the boot on my kid next year to make him walk like that, or do?
I won't report you to Children's Aid. No.
That's great, Hector. Amazing photos. Hector's stuff is incredible, and thanks for showing us all those great photos.
Awesome.
We're gonna move on to. We got a few more pictures here for Jason and Chrissy.
Yep.
Let's have a look at those when we can. There we go. So this is like a boiler room scene.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't like it too much. I didn't have it done whatsoever days before Halloween. One of our actors, I guess, I just said, okay, go do whatever you want. And then he finished painting it and all that kind of stuff. We didn't even get the roof painted or anything. But I kind of knew where I was going with it. And we weren't going to put in this fire guy. I had a whole different idea, but he just ended up working because it was so last minute. Normally, we leave the garage to the very last. Mm-hmm. And this is in our garage. And we have a few scenes in our garage, but I think this year we're actually going to not use the garage. I have nowhere to build in the off season, and I've been complaining even right now that I have nowhere to go since it's so cold. It's minus 14. So why don't we just take the garage right out of it and actually put it into a workshop so that I can work year round in there, put some heaters. So I think moving forward, we're not even going to use our garage for Halloween anymore, except for a building center, so to speak.
Right. I noticed like all your stuff is like with lights on, no lighting and stuff, and it still looks good. So I always like, you know what I'm saying? I like when the lights are on, it still looks good. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we had going on that. We had somebody that was taking our pictures, and normally each year. She just did it for us. So we kind of got used to it and expected nothing. She got it. She came, she did the pictures and that type of thing. And then this year, after everything was over, before she gave us any pictures or whatever, she said, I want money. So I did put something on Hunter's Hangout. Do you think I should do that? I was never expecting for it before. In the long run, not until almost the end of December, we finally got some of the pictures. And we haven't paid yet, but I will give them some money for what they did. But we never had pictures. We relied on.
I never do. I never get them ever.
Yeah. There's no time to get them.
I had someone actually come in and say, I'm going to take professional pictures of your haunt, and they actually had like the camera with this, the shutter. The whole nine and a big like a booming mic and everything, and ran through the haunt like 4 or 5 times. Never saw him again.
No.
No. I was like, hello, what happened? And when you see someone going through your haunt like that, you don't even take pics because his shit's like way better than your shit, and he was just going through it so in detail, like in the corners and just like running through, and then turn around, catching people, and it's like I don't even need to take nothing. I never saw his ass again.
Exactly. Every year, I say it every year that I'm going to take more pictures. I'm going to take more video before we even open, while it's open, and afterwards. I never do. I'm just too busy running around, making sure everything is good. But it is what it is. Okay, so this picture is after we come down the side of my house.
Before the garage.
Before the driveway, and that type of thing. It's our second emergency route to the right there. So it's another chicken route. But people were leaving out that. So they thought that's the way the haunt was, even though if you look left, you can see obviously that it keeps going. But people were leaving out that door and thinking the haunt was over. So I had to post somebody there just to say, hey, no. It still goes. Go through that way. Because you still got another 5 to 10 minute walk the rest of the haunt.
Now, Jason and Chrissy, what was your favorite scene you guys actually made?
Oh, wow.
The garage. That there for me. The rest of it, I don't know. Previous years, we always did multiple scenes. The last 2 years, we've done Asylum. So we didn't want to change it up every year. So trying to revamp Asylum a second time and starting from scratch 2 years ago to try to do something with such, like we have about 3,500 square feet and just trying to fill that and trying to revamp it so that people don't come back and say, oh, I remember this from last year. I don't like hearing people say that, so I always try to change things up. And I don't know, I guess I was going for the front facades. Again, as every other year, I didn't finish it in time, but that would be my favorite. And then Chrissy says she likes the garage here. Yeah. That vent right up there by the light, actually I have a real air conditioner in there so that even though it was minus, I don't know, freezing 5 that day on Halloween, I still pumped air conditioner, cool air out that. So it was even colder in that room. I had the tarps there and a door just to the left so that it was really cold in there.
Wow.
So you could really feel it when you walked into that room. It really felt noticeably colder.
Yeah, I wanted to put some little ribbons on the thing, but I totally forgot as well so that you can actually see the wind blowing and that, but I totally forgot. And this is just inside my garage as well. It's actually the opposite side of where that last room was. So the other one was coming in where the guy was, the boiler room. That was entering into my garage. This is exiting out of my garage.
So that's really great. That's really great.
You're cutting out like 2 really good scenes then.
Yeah.
Right out.
Oh, jeez. So yeah, most of these guys are my neighbors. This Halloween night, as soon as it ended, I was in one of the scare hallways. I don't normally act, but I did. There was just a part that I found and I wanted to take it. I had this huge heavy costume on plus sweaters and there was no air circulation in there. I was sweating. So as soon as Halloween was done, the last people went through, I dropped, literally. I just kind of dropped. I had to catch my costume came off. I was trying to warm up. And then I was into the house. And then somebody's like, picture. So I came out really quick. There's me up in the left. They took the picture. And within seconds, I was in the bathroom puking. And then a couple minutes after that, I was in bed. I was out.
So in that last picture there, which one of those is the jerk that called 5-0 on you guys?
Yeah, we don't know. Hopefully he's not in there, and if he is, I'm glad he is in there.
It's probably that doctor up there going, "Hey."
Yeah. So this is a little sign that we made this year. Chrissy carved everything out and painted it all, and we just wanted something because the line is right in front of this. We just wanted them something to read. We had our gatekeeper there, just giving a little backstory of what was going on inside. This year, like I said, it was a little rainy on Halloween, but it was decent. We had over the 4 days, I don't know, it was like 5,500 people.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, but the same thing. People came because the previous year it was in the news. Previous years before that, we were getting 2,000 to 3,000 once the news hit with the tents and shutting us down. Then we jumped up to about 6,000 last year, and then a little under 6,000 this year. And I don't know. I'm hoping that we maintain that kind of number, but if not, if we jump back down to 3 once the thing is done, I'm okay with that. People are starting to say now that it's a family tradition. They want to go. We're in a community where there's lots of people, so it's easy access to us and all that kind of stuff. There's a school around the corner for parking. Yeah.
Well, those are great, guys. I mean, you guys put on one heck of a show. You should be proud of yourselves. That's awesome.
Right, definitely.
All right, so Chris, we still have a few more pictures for you, my friend. Let's take a look at those.
Oh, we got him.
Damn it.
There he is.
And he was actually ready too.
I know I was.
Yeah. So this is another picture of the garage with one of my actors, Wade, who dressed up as one of the missing brothers, Merle. And he would, when the routine had gone through its thing and the lights came back on, he would come screaming through that door, running towards the fence to scare people. So he did. All my actors did a fantastic job.
That silicone mask he's wearing, or
that is a silicone mask from CFX. Yeah, yeah. That's one of the. I got that mask a couple years ago. I guess there was a thing in the news where they did a. They were supposed to do the, I guess, the masks and effects for The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead people ordered a whole slew of masks and then canceled the order. And I guess they sold them at rock bottom prices, and that's one of the ones I picked up. So I'm lucky enough to get that at half price.
Now, Chris, how did they know when to jump out? That actor there, I'm guessing he was behind that door.
Yeah, so it would go through the routine, and it would get to a point where I took a soundtrack. I think it was from the Evil Dead movie, the new Evil Dead movie, where it would crescendo, and then they would know when the lights went out, and the crescendo sound made a, I guess, pause for a bit, and then made a sound after that. That's when they would come screaming out. So,
wow.
And this is a picture of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, people have been asking, do you do some sort of actor training with your actors, or do they kind of figure out their own scares?
They figure out their own scares. They have these guys. Yeah, pretty much all of them have come back for the past 3 years, begging to do it again. They have so much fun. And I just put them in a scene and say, this is what the backstory is. And a lot of times they'll figure out their own thing. And they're pretty good about doing the high intensity scares. And they're awesome doing it with the kids that are spooked out.
Man, you got
very good.
Pretty rough looking group there, dude. That's
I know. That's me in the middle.
They look like they're at that point where they just actually might smack your ass. Like,
yeah.
Did your kids help out again this year?
My kids helped out a bit. They helped out with painting and stuff, but my kids are two very different personalities. My son's kind of like, I just want to go out and collect candy. But my daughter's very, very much like Hector's daughter, is very in tune and very involved. My daughter this year stood at the front door and actually greeted people and said, how many people are going in? Should we be concerned? And she did a really, really good job. Yeah, cool. She's really has a lot of fun doing it. She actually was so excited she went to her school and asked her teacher whether it would be okay if her whole class could come on Halloween Day, and the whole class came to the haunt and saw it. That was special. It was good.
So I know Chris,
and lucky enough.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say, I know Christine plans everything out as far as with SketchUp. I see you plan everything out with Legos.
I debated heavily on whether I should put this photo in or not. But I mean, considering I'm on Hunter's Hangout, and this is the spot where people get ideas and tips and tricks. I'm not really good with the computer planning and sketching and stuff. I'm terrible with it, but I've always been good with Legos. So a couple of years ago, I overheard somebody that went to a seminar at Transworld, and they mentioned that John the Flamboy had told them the way he maps out his walkthroughs and his haunts is by using Lego. And I went, oh my God, that's awesome. And I tried it for the past 3 years, and no word of a lie, every single time I do it, the measurements have been bang on, perfect. I've never had to rejig anything or change anything because it turned out great. Yeah.
So how many pegs equals a foot? How's
that one little dot is 6 inches.
Okay, there you go. Excellent. That's a great tip. I can't believe I never thought of that. That's awesome.
Right.
All right, so we're going to move on to Christine for our final round of pictures for the night. What do we got?
That was our Freddy character this year. He's actually the guy that had recruited that girl with the barbed wire. So we just stuck him in like a boiler room scene, and he was just fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's this? Is this a lodge kind of type thing outside?
Yeah, this is our hillbilly shack that we repurposed this year. It was meant to be Friday the 13th with like the lake, and we had Camp Crystal Lake, and we had a bunch of outhouses around it. And an actor playing Jason in it. Yeah.
Nice. Is that a real blade in the background there? I hope that
it is actually. It's kind of in a place that nobody can get to.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Anyway, we actually have a number of authentic antique tools and scythes and hand tools and things like that are part of the haunt.
Maximus Christian Bryant wants to know, is that a pallet fence in that picture? In the picture before?
It is not. Actually, those are like I don't know. I guess they're used for railings. I don't know. We just have a bunch of individual things, and we use 2x4s, and we just screw them in individually every year.
Allie Aldridge wants to know, do you have any problems using licensed characters in your haunt?
Well, so I mean, officially, we shouldn't. We change themes every year, or most years. We'll probably keep Hollywood Horror one more year, just because there's so many different things you can do with it. It's always our own spin on it, and I mean, they're purchased costumes and things like that. We aren't, and I think it helps. We aren't making any money off of our haunt, really. It's it all goes to charity, so we haven't had any issues. But knock on wood, it's definitely something that could come up. That was our Witch Bitch cabin that we just passed. It's built. It actually stays built. We put it on casters. You can kind of see them on the bottom. And funny story, the one year those casters broke, we didn't have heavy duty enough ones, and we actually had to like jerry rig this whole cabin up using a scissor lift, and I had to climb underneath. And so the joke was like, don't drop the house. Yeah. Anyways, and it takes and we built 6 outhouses. This year we filled them with a number of comedic scenes and encouraged people to open them up. This was a lady smoking on the john, and yeah, they were all kind of funny. Just little throw-ins, you know. Yeah.
Yep, little details.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Very cool.
Pet project of my dad's.
Cool.
So and actually we had a new volunteer who just started this year, and we gave her those outhouses to do what she wanted with and let her run with it, and what she came up with was just amazing. She really took initiative, which was cool.
Sean Boswell wants to know, that house that we saw a minute ago, is that one solid piece, or does it break down for storage?
No, so it stays built all year. Like I said, we put it on casters, and it takes it takes probably at least 6 to 8 people to move it, ideally about 10. We all just sort of get around it and push it. And then we store stuff inside it throughout the year, but we purposely designed it to look like, you know, quote unquote nice enough that the neighbors don't complain too much about it. It kind of looks like a playhouse is going to be my rebuttal if anybody questions it.
Well, Cindy Wortman wants to know, what was your biggest scare from last season?
I don't know. The vomit thing actually probably worked really well as like a really we focused a lot on sets. We had a real bear that we added this year. That thing was kind of neat. We had initially intended to mechanize it. That didn't happen for last year, so we'll try it this year. But that was pretty effective too. It just kind of came up from nowhere out of people just because we had it kind of in shadows. It's always our actors. Our actors are definitely the best.
Well, that's great. We've seen some amazing haunters here tonight. I just wanted to thank all of you guys to come on and rep Canada.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Make Canada look good.
Awesome launch.
If you want to see more Canadian things, go to the CanadianHauntersAssociation.com.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, you can check out our videos there from many Canadians.
That's right. Yeah, there are lots of great haunters in Canada. And I guess now we'll do prizes.
Right. We're gonna hand that over. We're gonna hand it over to Jamie.
Oh, my turn?
Jamie.
All right, well, I guess we'll go back to this plan again. Okay, so, well, that does not work, does it?
See, I got Phil by surprise. Now I got you.
Okay, we're not going to screen share for the night. Okay, prizes. All right, so the first prize of tonight is the mask from Face Factory, and that goes to Eric Boogeyman Palm. Then the Fright Props $25 gift card goes to Ferdinand Knowles.
Yeah!
Yay! The prize from Sinful Audio goes to Max Toller. The coffin ornament from Horror Ornaments goes to
borderline, Jamie, borderline.
Goes to Cindy Wortman.
Cindy.
1 gallon of fog from Froggy's Fog goes to Nadine Eller McEwing. Nadine. Sorry, Nadine.
Oh,
Okay.
shit. It's the
Again
clapping.
with the cans.
I know. I'm sorry. I should stop doing that.
Okay, the blue lit haunter sign from Haunt Labs goes to Alan Binge, Benge. Alan, yay.
Hey, Jamie, you're doing a great job. Keep going.
Love you, Jamie.
Butchering the names is half the fun. Okay, the realistic looking skull from Nightmare Makers, Tim Thompson.
Hello, Scuba.
The Hollywood FX alcohol airbrush makeup from I Love FX Makeup goes to Debbie Smith Wright.
Debbie.
The pair of exotic contact lenses is Allie Aldridge.
All right, Alex. Congratulations.
And the knife from Hardcore Fabrications goes to Doug Cox.
All right, Doug.
And that's it.
All right, now normally Diablo says goodnight here, and he's about to do that.
No, you can say goodnight.
No, you're going to say goodnight. And normally everyone just closes it down, but don't do that tonight, because after he says goodnight, we're going to sit here for about 10 minutes and watch Hector take down his sign. So stay tuned for that. As the credits roll. Hand it over to you, Diablo.
Okay, you know, we definitely want to thank Brad for doing an excellent job in this hosting, and hopefully he'll be hosting some more.
Hey, Brad!
All right.
Yay!
We want to thank all the guests for coming on with all their amazing stuff. We want to thank Jamie for awesome getting the names right and trying to get all that stuff together. She's awesome. And Phil for doing all the pictures, and definitely, guys, all our sponsors. I mean, that's like a big thing in the Hangout, and they put in so many prizes, so much money. It costs them to give away free prizes. So definitely, whenever you go shopping for your hunt stuff, go to them for all your hunt needs. So I want to thank everybody for coming on, and until next Thursday, we're out.
See you then, everyone.
Bye.
Never turn your back on a moose.